never imagined I'd end up in the crosshairs of our homeowners association president, but life has a way of surprising you. My name's Ethan, and I moved into Maple Grove 3 years ago after a motorcycle accident left me with limited mobility in my left leg. The neighborhood checked all the boxes. Peaceful streets, tidy lawns, and most crucially, a driveway spacious enough for my modified van. What I didn't anticipate was that requesting a simple disabled parking sign would ignite a feud with Margaret Hensley, known around here less than fondly as the enforcer. I'd done everything by the book. The city greenlit my application for a disabled parking spot right outside my house, and the sign went up on a quiet Tuesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, though, something was off. The sign was tilting awkwardly. I pulled up my security footage and couldn't believe my eyes. There was Margaret, decked out in her signature khaki shorts and floral blouse, hacking at the metal pole with pruning shears. When I emailed her about it, her reply was swift and shameless. That sign clashes with HOA aesthetic standards. It wasn't approved by the board. Take it down, or you'll face DULA 50 daily fines. I pointed out that I had city approval and that federal disability laws trumped HOA rules. Her response: not in Maple Grove, they don't. The next morning, the sign was gone, lice clean off. My cameras caught Margaret at it again, this time at 5:30 a.m., wielding what looked like a power saw. She even smirked at the lens before strolling off. I rely on that parking space. On bad days, when the pain spikes, even a short walk feels impossible. So I tried a new tack. I sent Margaret a calm email. I noticed my sign's been damaged. I'm sure you wouldn't know anything about that, but I'll be replacing it per city rules. I attached links to the relevant disability laws, keeping it civil. Her reply shot back in minutes. All new installations need written HOA approval. Your request is pre-denied. What she didn't realize was that I'm a property law attorney. I usually handle business cases, but I know residential codes inside out certainly better than most HOA tyrants. I called a friend at the city planning office who promised to reinstall the sign at no cost. We've dealt with this HOA before, she said with an exasperated sigh. The new sign went up on Friday. This time, I upgraded my setup, better camera angles and a motion-activated one hidden in a birdhouse, thanks to my neighbor Tom, another of Margaret's casualties. Sure enough, at 6 a.m. Saturday, there she was in her workout gear, sawing away with a cordless reciprocating saw. I watched the live feed, stunned, as she attacked the pole with grim focus. I'd already tipped off the police non-emergency line the night before, asking about my options. When I dialed 911 that morning, I referenced the earlier call. 2 officers rolled up while Margaret was still at it. The shock on her face as the patrol car arrived was almost worth the hassle. Eyes bulging, mouth agape. She tried to stash the saw behind her back, like that'd make it vanish. "Ma'am, what are you doing?" one officer asked, though it was obvious. "Routine board inspection," Margaret said smoothly. This sign wasn't cleared by the HOA Architectural Committee. She sounded so sure of herself that I almost second-guessed my own case. I stepped forward with my phone, showing the footage and my permits. "Officers, this is the 3rd time Ms. Hensley has vandalized my legally installed disabled parking sign. I have city approval for this accommodation." Margaret doubled down, claiming her HOA role gave her the right to remove unapproved fixtures. Permits be damned. The older officer, badge reading Martinez, barely hid a grin as he explained that HOA rules don't override city laws or the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they definitely don't excuse destroying public property. When they told her she'd be cited for vandalism, Margaret's face turned beet red. "Do you know who I am?" she snapped, her voice hitting a shrill note. "My cousin's the assistant city manager." "This won't stand." The officer swapped a look but kept writing the ticket. I figured that'd be a citation, maybe a fine. But Margaret wasn't one to back down. That afternoon, every Maple Grove resident got an urgent HOA alert email, accusing me of faking my disability and claiming I didn't really need the parking spot. She'd attach photos of me unloading groceries and walking my dog as proof. That was a step too far. I reached out to my doctor, the city's disability office, and a colleague who handles discrimination cases. Then I filed for an emergency injunction and a restraining order against Margaret and the HOA board. The case landed with Judge Harper, a no-nonsense type known for shutting down petty neighborhood spats. 2 weeks later, Margaret and I squared off in court. She showed up with the HOA's lawyer, all confidence in a sharp blazer and gold earrings. I represented myself, armed with a flash drive of EVY Denke, security clips, emails, and medical records. Her attorney rambled about HOA rights and curb appeal, sidestepping the vandalism and harassment entirely. When my turn came, I let the footage do the talking. The courtroom monitor showed Margaret's first go with the shears, then the power saw incident smirk included, and finally the latest saw attack, complete with her police encounter. I pulled up her email, highlighting where she'd basically called me a liar about my disability. Judge Harper's frown deepened as she watched. When the clips finished, she set her glasses down and fixed Margaret with a stare. Ms. Hensley, are you aware that interfering with a disability accommodation is a CIVYL rights violation? And that publicly challenging someone's verified disability comes close to defamation? Her voice was cool and steady. Margaret's lawyer tried to jump in, but Judge Harper wasn't done. The court grants the restraining order. Hensley is to stay at least 50 feet from the plaintiff's property at all times. I'm also imposing a due law $5,000 fine for the CIVYL rights violation and forwarding this to the DA's office for possible criminal charges tied to repeated vandalism of city property. I glanced at Margaret, expecting a fight, but she just sat there, pale and stunned, her hand hovering where she'd been about to nudge her lawyer. For someone who thrived on wielding petty power, facing real consequences seemed to short-circuit her. Judge Harper pressed on, "Furthermore, I'm ordering Ms. Hensley to resign as HOA president immediately. Her actions show a clear misuse of authority and a pattern of targeted harassment." "You can't do that," Margaret burst out, her voice bouncing off the walls. "The HOA bylaws don't. The law gives me that power, Ms. Hensley." Judge Harper cut in sharply. "And unlike HOA rules, my rulings are binding. Court officers, please remove her if she disrupts again." Margaret sank back, her empire collapsing in under 20 minutes. As we left, I spotted her in the hallway, staring at her phone, likely at the court order now hitting everyone's inbox. For the first time since I'd met her, Margaret Hensley had nothing to say.